Once upon a time, people were terrified that Trump's tariffs would crash the economy. Every headline screamed economic disaster. Experts predicted stock market collapse, job losses, and inflation. Wall Street was panicking. The VIX shot up. Markets tumbled. Bitcoin corrected. Fear was everywhere. But here's the twist. What if the tariffs didn't cause chaos? What if they triggered a $3 trillion investment boom instead? Because that's exactly what just happened. Today, I'm going to break down how Trump's aggressive tariff strategy turned out to be a calculated economic power play. One that's driving billions into U.S. manufacturing, reshaping global trade, and possibly marking the beginning of a new American industrial era. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why the headlines got it all wrong, and why staying invested when things feel risky might be the most powerful strategy of all. Let's rewind. You've heard the story. America once had a booming industrial base. Cities like Detroit were global powerhouses. Then came NAFTA. Corporations saw a green light to move production to Mexico and Canada. Jobs vanished. Communities collapsed. If you were a GM executive, it was a win. If you were a factory worker from Ohio or Michigan, it was devastation. And that devastation had real consequences. The most chilling? Life expectancy. For Americans without a college degree, life expectancy has plummeted. We're talking about a 7-year difference. Not because of air or water, because of despair. So when Trump talks about making America great again, he's pointing to a real, measurable decline. And he's looking to a time before 1913 when America ran on tariffs, not income taxes. That's right. Before 1913, there was no federal income tax. Tariffs funded the entire government. America boomed. The U.S. was the richest country on earth. We even had commissions just to figure out how to spend the surplus. That's the America Trump's economic vision wants to revive. Now, to understand his strategy, we need to go back to 1945. After World War II, the U.S. helped rebuild the world. We lowered our tariffs. We let other countries keep theirs. Why? To help Europe and Asia recover. It was called the Marshall Plan, but for trade. It worked. Japan recovered. Germany thrived. Southeast Asia grew. But there was one problem. We never reset the system. Even after these countries became competitive, they kept their high tariffs and strict trade barriers, while America stayed open, decade after decade. Our average tariff dropped to 3 to 4%. Meanwhile, India, China, and even our allies like the EU kept theirs far higher. And our industries paid the price. That's the backdrop. So when Trump took office in 2016, he saw a system where America held all the buying power, but none of the leverage. And he asked a simple question: who really holds the power? The answer? The customer. And the US is the world's biggest customer. So Trump did what no one expected. He used tariffs, not as punishment, but as leverage. Access to the US market, he argued, was a privilege. And it was time to use that privilege to negotiate better terms. Now this sparked panic. The media said it would crash the market, that it was inflationary, that it would send us into recession. But here's the thing they missed. That pain was the point. It was strategic pressure. And it's working. In just the first 2 months of his new presidency, over $3 trillion in investment commitments flooded into the U.S. economy. Let's talk numbers: $1.4 trillion from the UAE, $600 billion from Saudi Arabia. Apple alone committed $500 billion over 4 years. OpenAI, Oracle, and Japan's SoftBank pledged $500 billion. TSMC is building with $100 billion. Johnson & Johnson? $55 billion. Even Hyundai and Honda joined in with tens of billions. And it's just getting started. Now, if you're finding this breakdown helpful, and you want to stay ahead of what's really happening in the global economy, smash that like button and subscribe. It really makes a difference and helps this channel reach more people who need to see it. Let's go deeper. Why did everyone get inflation so wrong? Howard Lutnick explained it best. Imagine 2 bottles of water. One made in the US, one imported from Fiji. They both cost $1. Now slap a 20% tariff on the Fiji bottle. It now costs $1.20. But the US bottle? Still $1. That's not inflation. That's a choice. Now imagine printing $1 trillion. Suddenly, both bottles cost more. That's inflation. Caused by money printing, not tariffs. But no one made that distinction. Instead, tariffs became the scapegoat. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the US was quietly rebuilding. And the markets? Despite all the noise, the S&P 500 returned nearly 50% during Trump's first term. Even with trade wars. Even with a pandemic. Why? Because the market is forward-looking. It sees what's coming next. And historically, that's when the most wealth is built. Right when it feels like everything is falling apart. Warren Buffett said it best. Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. And the fear is measurable. It's called the VIX, the Volatility Index. It spikes when investors panic. In March 2020, it hit 80, higher than 2008. But from 2009 to 2020, the market gained over 400%. Trying to time that? Impossible. In fact, Fidelity found the best performing accounts were owned by people who forgot they had them, or had passed away. Why? Because they never sold. Another study showed that missing the top 10 best days in the market could cut your gains in half. And those best days? They usually come right after the worst ones. So what does this mean for you? It means don't let fear chase you out of the market, especially not from headlines, especially not now, because no one knows exactly what's coming. But history shows the winners stay invested. They hold through chaos. They build wealth when others run. So yeah, Trump's tariff policy shook things up. But maybe that was the goal. To reset the system. To bring back leverage. To rebuild American strength. Now we're seeing the early signs, factories returning. Supply chains shifting. Trillions flowing back. And a system that might just be changing forever. If you made it this far, thank you. Now's the time to really take action. If you want to stay informed, stay ahead, and make smarter decisions with your money, like this video and subscribe. Seriously. It helps way more than you think, and I'll keep bringing you the real story behind the headlines. Because the next economic era may already be here, and you deserve to understand it.